and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Before we get started, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, AMAC. As we approach another critical election, a wave of concern washes over America. Recent studies reveal that an astonishing 56% of our fellow citizens report feelings of anxiety or dread about the upcoming presidential election. That's why I stand with AMAC. AMAC is more than a senior discount organization. During these challenging times, they fight for common sense and hope our nation returns to traditional American values. Visit amac.us/Lara today to seize an exclusive election year special, a 4-year AMAC membership for just $30. As an AMAC member, you not only enjoy money-saving benefits, but also the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare advice, a trusted voice in Washington, and a community of like-minded patriots who love this great nation. By becoming an AMAC member, you're strengthening a movement dedicated to preserving the principles we hold dear. Take advantage of this election year special, 4 years for $30, and be part of the solution over the next 4 years. You can join now at amac.us/Lara. That's amac.us/LARA. Tonight, we're joined by Senior Advisor to President Trump and founder of America First Legal, Stephen Miller. Stephen, welcome to the show. You and I have known each other for a long time. You've actually been working with Donald Trump.
Not to make us feel old, but almost a decade now.
Oh my God, stop it. I'm not even able to talk about those sort of things. I just realized, Stephen, that this is my third presidential election cycle, and it's one of the crazier things I've ever admitted out loud in public. But for you and I met, I think, in 2016, and you've been working with Donald Trump since 2016 in different capacities. How, though, did you first end up on Team Trump? Because I don't even know if I know this story.
It's a great question. I don't get asked it often, so I always enjoy the chance to talk about it. So in 2015, so remember, Donald Trump declared his candidacy in June, in the summer of 2015.
Yep.
And so I was watching the announcement, like everybody else, live on television. And as soon as I saw it, I said, I have to join this campaign. I was a staffer in the Senate at the time, and I'd been working on Capitol Hill at that point in time for probably 8 or 9 years. And I called my friend, who I knew from his work at Breitbart, Steve Bannon, and I said, Steve, I've got to join the Trump campaign. And so he connected me with the campaign, I guess, that same day. And so my spare time, off hours, I was providing thoughts, input, analysis. For example, I worked on the first immigration paper that the campaign put out. And I loved so much, and I knew that it was, of course, so essential to the future of the country, that I left my job over the Christmas holiday. And in January, I started full-time in the Trump campaign. I got on a train. I didn't really even clearly have a job description yet. I just got on a train on the Amtrak from D.C. to Manhattan, went to the Trump Tower, said, hey, Stephen Miller, starting today, what do you need me to do? And the rest, I guess, is pretty much history. I had a chance to get to know everyone on the campaign and started flying around on the president's plane, and then got to know then candidate, later President Trump. And I pretty much traveled with the president to almost every event from pretty much spring through the election. Only during that time, only Dan Scavino logged more hours than me.
Yeah, and by the way, that's a tough one to beat, Dan Scavino. He's the OG of OGs. He's been there forever. Yes. Still around, still doing his thing. But I love that from the very beginning, Stephen, you were in. What was it about Donald Trump in that moment of his announcement coming down, of course, the golden escalator at Trump Tower? Because it's so funny if you look back at that. I feel like that is the delineation point in our history as to when people truly started paying attention again to politics. People were kind of just really didn't care, agnostic. They really didn't pay much attention. And then Donald Trump comes down an escalator, announces he's running for president. No one believed, by the way, that it was really going to happen. What was it about him in that moment that you were like, I got to go work for this guy, and you made that call to Steve Bannon?
Well, I think you're exactly right. There are these defining moments, these dividing lines that separate history from everything before and everything after. And President Trump's announcement in June 16th of 2015,
Yeah.
was that dividing line. Everything in American politics can be separated from before and after that event. What spoke to me, and I think, of course, to millions of other Americans, was how fearlessly he was condemning the political structure in Washington, D.C. as a whole. It wasn't just the usual partisan speech about this team good and this team bad. He was condemning the entire structure in Washington, D.C. as working only for itself and against the interests of the American people. And he spoke very clearly on several issues, of course, about immigration and about how our open border was bleeding us dry, but also about how China was ripping us off and stealing all of our jobs, and how corrupt special interests in DC were getting rich and getting fat and making money while everyone in the country was getting poor. And I knew that the fearlessness, the courage, the boldness, the conviction with which he was attacking the whole parasitic system, I knew that that was the answer, that the hope that we had all been looking for, because I think it was a benefit that I had worked in DC at this point in time when he was speaking for my entire adult professional life. Right after I graduated from college, my bachelor's, I went straight to DC. And I had seen firsthand everything that he was describing, so I knew the truth of it. And I think a lot of Americans most Americans, of course, who've never had the misfortune of spending time in DC, probably may even underestimate the extent of corruption in Washington. Like, as bad as you think it is, it's so much worse. And I had seen firsthand how special interests drive every product in DC. So, if you're working on a bill, say, regulating financial companies, who writes the bill? It's the outside groups that are going to be regulated by it.
Right. It's
and the
crazy.
staffers working on it
Yeah.
then leave and go work for the company. They cash in and go work for the company that they're regulating. So it's one big corrupt circle. And he was going to smash that whole corrupt system and replace it with something that was representative of the actual American people, which is, of course, what he did as president.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. And look, to what I said before, I think is right too, which is that people really weren't paying attention to politics until Donald Trump, right? But you were, because I read that you got your start in politics while you were still in high school, regularly appearing on talk radio. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, Stephen. Most kids that age aren't really politically active, or weren't back then. Why was this of interest to you? Why do you think you were so engaged in politics from early on?
Well, it's not to age myself to the young people out there, but when I was in high school, we didn't have viral videos. We didn't have social media. The lifeblood of our politics was local talk radio. Mm-hmm. Talk radio, of course, is still incredibly important, but that was the place that you went to register a grievance. You didn't take a cell phone video of yourself and post it online and then a million people watch it. And so when I saw in my high school, because I grew up in Los Angeles, how, and these issues are so resonant still today, how you had left-wing educators pushing left-wing rubbish down the throats of students, promoting anti-Americanism and pro-communism and any illegal immigration, and all of the radical left causes being forced onto unwilling students. I started going on talk radio to talk about it, and then it just developed into a regular thing where every couple of weeks I would get invited on to, it was Larry Elder's show on KABC in Los Angeles. I would get invited on every couple of weeks to give an update on what was happening on my campus. And it was really at that moment that I realized that this was going to be my future. It was going to be a life in politics.
I mean, that's, by the way, kudos to you. You saw it happening back then. And, I think back, you and I are probably around the same age, but I think back to my time in high school and in college, and certainly there was an indoctrination of sort and a leftist lean to everything at that time. And we all know, Stephen, it's only gotten worse, right?
Yes.
I think when I talk to parents out there, this is their number one issue. I have friends who have changed their kids into multiple different schools. Now some of them are homeschooling their kids, because it's really frightening to think about the stranglehold the left is getting on our children. So I think the one question people always have is, what do we do? How do we fight back? You saw Glenn Youngkin elected in a blue state like Virginia because parents were so sick of losing their rights there. And I do think that it's still a big factor today as we sit here, as we're heading into, this 2024 presidential election. What do you tell people now? I mean, obviously you're fighting back in the way that you can, but what does the average person do out there?
Well, also one other thing that's changed over the years is that I was when this all started, I was an unmarried bachelor. Now I'm a married father of three. So my kids are not yet at schooling age, but I think about this a lot because I'm going to have to battle this like every other parent in America. And my advice to parents is that you need to be your own child's best advocate. And you need to keep your child to the best of your power and ability out of harmful situations. So for example, and I say this now as the father of a daughter, but I would never, ever in a million years allow my daughter to compete against a biological male.
Yep.
There's no universe where I would let that happen. And I would personally call every other parent on that team and say, we are not allowing our daughter to appear at this event. We're gonna do our own race in another location. We won't even tell the school where it is. But we are not, under any circumstances, going to legitimize this process. And I would also say that you have to be litigious. So I'm going to just changing roles here to my nonpartisan role, running a legal foundation. So we're not Democrat or Republican. We're just a civil rights foundation. But there are organizations like mine at America First Legal that provide pro bono representation to parents. So I would just say to any parent out there, you don't need to be rich or well off to pursue legal action. There are more and more organizations like mine that will provide free legal representation. You need to be willing to be litigious. That is not a bad word. The left has been doing this for generations, and we need to also fight back in our courts. Those are two things I would say that I would tell parents to do. And then the other thing is that you have to demand more of your politicians. You need to insist that the people that you are electing are going to fight this system. And that's why President Trump, as an example, has released a series of very detailed, it's called Agenda 47, a series of very detailed policy plans of exactly what he will do in 2025 to stop the gender madness in our schools.
Yeah, and it's so important right now. And it's Stephen, it's crazy. We're even here that we're existing in a space where people are trying to, as you said, legitimize these sort of things. It's absolutely insane. I want to hear more about America First Legal. We're going to take a quick break. Nobody move. We'll be right back. I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Swiss America. Our country is facing so many problems these days under Joe Biden. The last thing any of us need is more to worry about. Unfortunately, we now have to fear losing our freedom and privacy with the Democrats' new push for a digital dollar that could allow the government to tell us what we can and cannot buy with our own hard-earned money. That's why I'm encouraging every one of you tuning into the show right now to get The Secret War on Cash, an insightful report created by my friends at Swiss America. With this report, you'll learn how to protect yourself from the threats facing our freedom and your hard-earned money. The report is available right now to my listeners free of charge. Just call 800-289-2646 or visit www.swissamerica.com/Trump for your free report. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of their big box stores or shopping channels the way they used to. They've been part of cancel culture. So they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just a one-product company. But with the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products, some you may not even know about. To get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out their $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use pillows, just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Their 6-pack towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels, you guessed it, just $25. For the first time ever, the premium MyPillow with all new Giza fabric, just $25. Orders over $75 will receive free shipping as well. This amazing offer won't last long. Go to mypillow.com and use promo code Trump or call 800-624-3945 today. All right, so you mentioned a minute ago, Stephen, America First Legal. Tell everybody about it, why this was an important thing for you to do, and what the goals of this organization are.
So very simply, when I was in the Trump administration, I saw how the radical left had virtually unlimited legal resources to do basically whatever they wanted to. So everything President Trump did, they sued. Everything virtuous that the administration was doing, they tried to tie up in court. And of course, we've seen now in the last 4 years how they've relentlessly hounded everyone and anyone associated with the Trump administration at all. And I realized that we desperately needed an organization that was not controlled by the left, that would actually be a source for real justice, real fairness, to truly vindicate the rights of American citizens, whether it was fighting for, as we've discussed, parental rights, whether it was fighting against unlawful government overreach, whether it was fighting for secure borders, whether it was fighting for free speech, an organization that actually represented, a legal organization that actually represented the views of real, everyday, normal Americans. And so that is why I launched the foundation. And because it's powered by charitable contributions, we're able to provide, which is what really just fills me with such joy every day, free legal aid to those in need. So all the services that we're providing to our clients, which includes, to stay on this topic, many parents and families facing terrible situations at school, all the legal services that we provide are completely free to them. And that is so desperately needed. You know, my sort of mission, my mantra, and it'll take time to, of course, achieve this fully, is that no citizen in America who's being crushed under the boot heel of tyranny, of radical left indoctrination, of government abuse, should be unable to pursue justice for lack of funds. Right. We need to make it so that everyone who has a legitimate cause will have the ability to pursue justice. Now, again, it would take a long time to realize that goal, but that's the North Star that we're pointing towards.
And it's so important, Stephen, because I think there are a lot of people out there who have these major issues, and it's not just about them. It's about the future of the country, because oftentimes these things set precedent, and
exactly.
people feel like they're helpless. And why would I even try? Why would I go out of my way? We know how expensive it is, legal fees and this, that, and the other. Where can people find out more if this is something they want to seek out your help? Where can they find you?
Yes. So I'll just say very plainly to everyone watching today, if you are a citizen, a parent, a concerned American who feels that you are suffering a legal injustice, where you think that there is the need to go and seek a redress in the court system, you should reach out to us. You can go to our website, aflegal.org, and you can contact us through that. Or you can also reach us by email, equality@aflegal.org, equality@aflegal.org. And then we also have a hotline, 1-877-AFL-5454, 1-877-AFL-5454. So we try to make it as easy as we can for people to get in touch with us. And I just want to pick up on your last point, which is that, yes, these cases set precedent. So it's not just when we're fighting to vindicate the rights of a specific plaintiff or a class of plaintiffs, and we win that case in federal court, we can change the rules for everyone in the whole country. A big victory can secure the rights of all 300 million American citizens. And so these cases are essential to making sure that freedom survives for another generation.
Yeah, well, kudos to you. Thank you for doing it. I think it's very important. Before we go, look, we can all feel how important this time is right now. We really are in a unique time in the history of our country. We've never seen the things that we see happening to Donald Trump happen to any other presidential candidate in history. You're out there every day. You're in the trenches. You're seeing the radical left at work. You know the issues, but of all the things going on, what do you think is maybe one major issue that people may not be paying enough attention to yet? What's something that you would say, hey, don't miss out on this. Don't take your eye off of this because this is very important. What are you seeing right now?
Well, so I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I think people are paying attention to this, but maybe not as much as they should be. So obviously people are very familiar with the oral arguments that happened today in front of the Supreme Court about presidential immunity. But I think that the component of this that people are not paying enough attention to is what's really at stake here. Mm-hmm. If the Supreme Court does not hold that presidents have immunity for official acts. What that would mean is that every future conservative president would face unlimited prosecution from whatever the craziest Soros prosecutor in America wants to charge them for. And that means that democracy, so just to understand the stakes of this is what I'm saying, that means democracy is functionally over in this country. It will be ruled by Soros prosecutor. Every future president that is right of center will have to operate within the confines of what is acceptable to the leftmost Soros prosecutor in the country at that point in time. It is completely incompatible with the survival of American democracy. So that's what's at stake in this case.
What does your gut tell you on this one?
Well, the lawyer today for the government, for DOJ, Dreeben, did a terrible job. And so hopefully that bodes well. He said some really, I mean, I'll just be blunt, some stupid things in front of the court today. So, for example, one of the dumber things he said is that prosecutors would never bring a case without sufficient evidence.
Oh, please.
It's like
yeah, we'll show you a couple. We got a couple examples
Yes.
right now happening.
Right. I mean, he really made a fool of himself. I think it just comes down to whether or not I don't want to handicap it except to say it comes down to whether or not 5 justices have the courage to follow the law, knowing full well that the radical left, that the radical Marxists are going to scream bloody murder if the law is followed. And I would just implore, as a citizen, that the justices do their duty to follow the law and the Constitution, and not to be intimidated by the Chuck Schumers and the Hakeem Jeffries and the Nancy Pelosi's and all the radical left crazies, but to follow the law and the Constitution and to save this republic.
Amen to that. Let's fingers crossed, prayers up, Stephen. Let's hope so. And listen, I think it's been clear that there have been multiple instances of intimidation towards these justices. You look back at the Dobbs decision and whenever the decision was leaked early, and all of it has been to lead to people not following what they know is the law.
Intimidation campaign for
Right.
months, which is why, by the way, DOJ didn't arrest the unlawful demonstrators outside the homes of the justices.
It's insane.
Because they were sending a message. And
Yes.
when Chuck Schumer made his famous statement about how you're going to unleash the whirlwind and pay the price and everything else on the steps of the Supreme Court, what he was saying to the justices was, you will never have a peaceful day if you don't rule the way we want you to. And it was all leading up, in my opinion, to their expectation as the leaders of this lawfare, to these kinds of cases going in front of the Supreme Court. So they've been running this op for a long time. And so it's essential the justices do what is right under law and the Constitution and not be intimidated by these radical left mobs.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen Miller, thank you. Thanks for all you've done in the past. Thanks for all you're doing now. Thanks for joining us here at The Right View. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. We'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
Thank you.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.